So, Nicole, we skipped last week, just like Jack Barlow is probably going to skip college.
Listen, if mommy and daddy's money or Jack's money doesn't work out for him, maybe Whitney can sell a purse and lend him some money.
It's possible. It's episode 5 of Disengaging.
Recapping our favorite parts of this season of The Real Housewives of Small Lake City. I'm Nicole Nixon, a journalist in Sacramento.
And I'm Julia Ritchie, a journalist in Nashville.
And I appreciated that old-timey newspaper because I really needed a catching up that open.
The open was good this time. Yeah.
I really needed all that setup, and I appreciated the small lake city.
Yeah. No, that was actually, I thought, again, editors of the show, well done. I needed that bit of levity because this episode this week took a real dramatic turn. We didn't mean to skip last week. It just we got really busy, but nothing really happened last week either. It was they went to a ski trip that Heather arranged. We got to see some more potential new cast members interacting. Angie H is starting to stir the pot again, and that was it. There really wasn't a lot of movement forward. But this week, totally different story.
There is one thing I noticed last week that I just want to and it was just a moment. It was Jen and Coach Shah, and I just feel like they have a true romance, and they're truly in love, and they have honestly I think the most stable relationship and marriage of any housewife out there.
Yeah.
And I just want to appreciate that.
I think that's worth noting. I also wrote down, I'm a nerd now, so I write notes during the episode, and I wrote that they were doing this couples therapy exercise where they had to stare into each other's eyes, and she couldn't stop laughing, which is how I am. I cannot do that either. If someone's look into my eyes and say something sincere to me, and I'm hell no. And then
he was so sincere about it, though. I just loved that, and she was laughing the whole time. They have such a good dynamic.
You get the sense that they clearly share the same values. Jen's always out there online, supporting Black Lives Matter, and she's super into social justice issues, which in some ways has attracted a lot of heat for her because she does live in Utah, and that's not always the most popular stance to take out there. So they do seem like a good match, and this week they go to a one of those gyms where you fall into big it's basically ball
the
pits
trampoline
for adults.
parks.
Yeah, again, adult activities
blocks.
that I would probably be aren't we beyond this? But that one did look a little fun.
I've been to one of those, and I enjoyed it. Did I pee myself a little bit every time I jumped? Yes. Did I have a good time still? Yes.
Okay.
Please cut that out.
I will not. No, that is definitely staying in. Jen sort of we talked about are her tears over her upcoming trial, real tears or sorry that she did it or sorry she got caught. And the thing I will say about her crying this season is whenever she is crying about how much her family is at risk and how she is worried about losing her family over this, that part feels actually very real because of how supportive her husband has been through this whole ordeal.
Yeah.
He's never questioned her, or at least not on camera, and has seemingly put a lot of their family's assets up in order to help defend her. So, like I said, as a Jen apologist, she makes the show entertaining. She is always the one who brings the drama and the excitement, and so I'm ready for her redemption arc. She needs to serve some time and come back a little, humbled.
Listen, again, I don't condone the defrauding of elders, but we do love a complex and nuanced character with
woman, yes,
good and bad. Yeah,
that's it. Is with
a supportive man behind her.
Okay, we need to play Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero from her new album because I think this is the era of the anti-hero. And Jin
like
Shah
it.
is kind of the perfect archetype of an anti-hero.
An anti-hero.
So let's talk briefly about Heather's decision to start a choir. I'm calling it Heather's Mormon Tabernacle Choir, even though they're no longer called that.
There's like another anti-hero of Mormon anti-Mormon. It's not
the
anti-Mormon.
bad Mormon.
The
No,
bad Mormon.
It's her
The bad
name for her
Mormon
book.
Tabernacle Choir.
The
She
bad
can't
Mormon
even call
Tabernacle Choir.
herself an ex-Mormon. So
what she goes in the spiel, Nicole, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to like ask a Mormon here because you're a former Mormon.
ask away.
She's like, I just really missed choir. Like it was something that was really important, and it reminds me of being with my family and like being together on Sunday. And I was relating that like I went to a church like, you know, growing up, and singing was the worst part. Like everyone hated it. Like everyone was like mouthing the lyrics but not actually singing because all the songs really sucked. So I'm curious.
So
by
what
this,
gives?
like I have no nostalgia for.
I think it just depends on the person, because I definitely, like, members of my own family would say what you just said, but as a former Mormon and somebody who like grew up playing music and honestly loving music, and like I liked to sing in church. Am I a good singer? No, but like,
Were you in the choir?
I was not in the choir at my church, but I was in the choir at my high school.
Okay.
And I played like the violin growing up and took music, and like I did play in church my violin, get asked to do that. So there's some good memories, and I do feel like as just somebody who appreciates music, I can understand the people who can find and want to continue to find spirituality in that. And I do relate to that a little bit. I think it's beautiful that like, even if you're separating yourself from the institution of a religion, you can continue to find comfort in like one aspect of it, if that makes sense. So I think it's cool that Heather's pursuing this. Although I did love that she was like, I'm so stressed, I'm going to start a choir.
I know. I thought like the whole time she's like, oh, I'm expanding my business. I'm the most popular person on the show. I've got a book coming out. And like,
I've blown all my book deadlines.
Yeah. We've already sort of like surmised that like the producers pressure them to come up with activities that everyone can participate in so they can film them all together. But I did think like the same thing that we had said a couple episodes ago, that like Whitney deciding to take her name off the rolls of the church really took Heather by surprise. And this is yet another example of Heather seemingly sort of
like trying to find something to hold on to while
struggling
Whitney is
to
like
hold
clean break.
Yes, like Heather is still very religious in many ways.
And I think a lot of that also has to do with family. Like Whitney's obviously in a very hard place with her family, and it's so central to Mormonism, where on the other hand Heather is like, you know, still trying to please her family, and talked a little bit about her struggles with her book, and like being completely honest and having that thought in the back of her mind that she might like hurt her parents' feelings or like disappoint them. But then also when she makes those changes in her book draft, feels like she's being inauthentic. I thought that was also a very relatable moment that a lot of people like going through faith struggles can relate to and understand. So I love Heather's faith journey like storyline. I find it extremely relatable, and I think a lot of people in the Salt Lake City, Utah world probably also do.
Yes!
How sweet!
Yes, Jen!
Okay, get your mic, girl.
Let's talk about Justin Rose for a second.
Please.
Justin comes to their home and they rehash what happened earlier in the week where he got fired from his job because of a very cringy sex scene that they had last season where they painted each other and like smacked each other on the butt, and it was pretty. I was uncomfortable with it.
I think we all were.
Yeah. But
I have a lot of questions about all this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I did a little research. I know I said I don't research for this show, but I was like, where
we
did this
love to
guy?
research.
I was like, where did Justin work?
Listen,
Surely
we're
this is all
journalists.
over the internet, and it was. So there's several articles. Justin Rose worked for Life Vantage and as like one of their executives. And that is a MLM. And for those of you that don't know, MLM stands for multi-level marketing firm, which is a direct sales model where you basically convince people to go door to door and sell your products for you. So like Tupperware, Avon.
It's not just door to door anymore. It's Instagram to Instagram.
Yeah, mostly
and
that.
Facebook to Facebook.
Right. And the the trick of these companies is that most money is made from just selling people your products to sell to other people. So you're basically creating your own customer base by recruiting people to sell for you. And he also used to work for, I
only knew about Life Vantage.
New Skin.
Oh, the OG MLM.
The OG MLM, that's the one that Jason Chaffetz
Maybe the
also worked
junior.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he worked for a few others that I'd never even heard of.
Oh.
But they,
Well, listen, we all know Utah's like the capital of MLMs, so
but do you recall?
are we that surprised?
Do you recall when I said, doesn't it seem when Whitney was talking about Jen Shah's like business that she knew a lot about it, and I was like, it seems like Whitney knows a lot about direct sales and like group marketing.
Wait,
Because
is
her
Whitney's business MLM?
I don't think it is, but like now I'm like,
Is she setting?
Well,
is she
I mean, like-
is she about to hire her husband as her VP of sales and
well, that's
marketing?
what I said. I was like, it's clear that she used all her husband's money to like start her own. So
They've been
Vantage-
open about that. Okay, yeah, that's why this is so juicy. Is like they just used all of Justin's savings to rebrand her skincare line, and now
Yeah.
he's out of a job, and it's
Yeah.
not looking good for the roses.
So your question before we started recording was, would Justin have lost his job if it wasn't Utah, which is more conservative culturally? And
I don't think he would have. I think if this were another state, maybe in parts of like the South or the Mid, or okay, let me start there. Maybe in some more conservative states he would have, but if they were in another Real Housewives market like New York or LA or DC, they would have seen his wife's new job as a plus, and they would have kept him on.
Right. Like I would think that a company would like the exposure that would come with having someone on Real Housewives. But then, Life Vantage is dietary supplements. Like,
Oh, so like they're well, okay. If
so it
they're-
wasn't like cosmetics and skincare.
Yeah.
It was like
see.
grandma taking ginkgo biloba. So,
But grandma's not watching this anyway, so who cares?
but my thinking was that MLMs are notoriously secretive. You
Yeah.
and I did some reporting on these companies when we lived there, and they don't want scrutiny on their business model. They don't want people calling them pyramid schemes, even though most people do call them that.
Even though we can literally like recreate the office scene for you right now. Jim
Exactly.
explaining pyramid scheme to Michael. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Well, and so my thinking is like they made the right move because the guy, Justin's boss saw Mary Cosby's church come under scrutiny for being a cult. And then, he saw the plot line where Jen Shah's business got, raided by Homeland Security. And
You're really onto something.
And then
like,
he saw the scene where, what was the other example I had of like someone's business? Oh, Vita Tequila's coming under sort of scrutiny about being broke and not its finances not being totally on solid ground. So if I was running an MLM in Utah, I certainly wouldn't want.
you would can Justin as well.
I would have canned Justin as well. Yes, and I'm not defending
As a good-
Life Vantage. Like I'm not saying. Although,
as a-
you know what, Life Vantage, if you're listening, we would love a sponsor because we really need some revenue coming.
Is that a
in for this
conflict
pod.
of interest?
No, not at all. Because they would start sponsoring us after this episode.
Oh, okay.
We have a mid-roll just for you. Any MLM, honestly, if you run an MLM in Utah, we will run an ad for you.
We hear podcast advertising is going strong, and we're informed about the industry. We're just trying to get in.
We are informed about the industry. We won't call it a pyramid scheme if you pay us not to.
We do our research, clearly.
All right, the climax of this show, though, Nicole, has to be this revelation at dinner with Meredith and Seth, who are joined by Angie Harrington and her husband, Chris Harrington. Meredith decides that she wants to get to know Angie a little better. I don't know why. I find Angie very annoying. But they go to this restaurant that you identified as Provisions. And Chris Harrington makes a stunning confession.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
He created a fake Instagram account.
I have so many thoughts about this. It's so weird that a 52-year-old man created a fake Instagram account to go after his wife's friend.
But this was what confused me about it, and maybe you can help me understand. So he calls the account Shah Exposed and starts throwing verbal firebombs in Jen Shah's direction. But they're really mad at Lisa Barlow for what they accused her of doing, which is canceling their caterer, which didn't actually happen.
Yeah, did we even see it out?
So why was he going after Jen and not, because that's what Jen Shah later asked Heather when Jen is like, I'm really upset about this.
Let me just pull up the Small Lake City Times so I can get up to speed on all this drama.
Well,
it is a lot. It's confusing. It doesn't make sense. So, okay, Lisa allegedly started a fake Instagram to bash Jen or somebody first. And then Angie's husband, Chris, created one. But why are they going after Jen? I don't get this. I need to rewatch the...
I know. Well, I don't think it matters. This is the point.
Doesn't.
Is that
it's all just a plot device to start drama at the dinner table.
Adults should not be starting Finstas. And especially, I'm sorry. I'm not, some, into firm gender roles, but going after your wife's beef, that seems
so weird.
Stay out of it.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Well, be who's the most Coach Shah, super chill. John Barlow,
just be above
chill.
It all.
They're
just
all
be above it all.
Yeah, that's the model. You don't want to take on your wife's fight. You just you're just a comforting ear for her to shoulder for her to
exactly. Cry. You don't need all you need to do is listen. You don't need to create a Finsta and go defend her honor on Instagram. I did love when he made the confession and Lisa and Seth's faces were both so unimpressed. I loved that.
But then Meredith sort of does the whole
Lisa did it, so it's okay, I guess.
And then and then she does the whole let's just move forward. Let's just not look back.
Move on.
Just move forward. It's that toxic positivity that I freaking hate.
It is. I was just gonna call it problematic white woman behavior, but
it is so problematic white woman behavior. But speaking of problematic white women, I know you like Heather's faith journey, but I'm really over this Switzerland stance that she takes. So when Jen goes to Heather's house later to talk about this Finsta that Chris started about her and why, even though he admitted it to her that she's not over it, which I wouldn't be either, that Heather just is oh, I don't want to get in the middle. I don't want to have to pick a side. I don't want to. Why don't involve me? But then she does want to be involved in all of this. So I'm a little over Heather's neutrality and
she wants to she wants to have her cake and eat it too, with being friends with everybody instead of being trying to find ways to resolve the conflicts.
Yes. And that leads, you just said a phrase that reminds me that the quote of the show for me is when Lisa goes, "The cherry on the icing on the top of the cake." Did you say that?
I didn't catch that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to throw that one in because I loved it. It's another like classic Lisa line where I'm like, it's the
What? Girl, what?
cherry on the whipped cream on the icing on the top of the cake on
With
the top
sprinkles
of the
on
pie,
top.
on top of the cake. Yeah, I was like, okay, we get it.
This I couldn't let go because it was like kind of like the cherry on the icing on the topping of the cake for me. I'm not looking to go backwards with Heather. I'm just looking to set the record straight.
So I know that this is all queuing up for a great shouting match next week. But I'm actually looking forward to like real auditions and seeing them singing. Because did you hear Lisa singing? That was pretty cool.
I was like, there is no way Lisa is a good singer.
What did you think?
Well,
She did. She did.
the fact
okay.
that she can only sing a song in a certain key is
like
not
she's
a
like,
good
I have to
sign.
lower my register.
Yeah.
It's like me
Yeah.
whenever I start singing the national anthem. I'm like, oh, I
It's
started
like-
too high.
You're like, you know one song and you can sing it perfectly a single way only. Well, I do have to shout out our buddy Edward Lopez, who was at that audition.
Yes.
And was apparently part of the Shah squad. So, Edward, if you're listening, open invite to be on our show one day.
And I hope he makes it onto the choir.
The choir.
I feel like maybe would you know by now if he had, or you said you signed an NDA?
I have no idea. Well, I feel like as part of the Shah squad, he probably signed a lot of NDAs.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling Heather's not making people sign NDAs to be in her choir. So
Yeah.
hopefully he made it.
All right. Next week.
Will Angie H fess up or continue to defend her weird 52-year-old Instagram troll husband's honor?
And will Jen Shah deliver the most iconic line of the season when
I
she
can't wait.
compares Chris to an elf on the shelf in a very rude way? This episode of Disengaging is produced by me, Julia Ritchie, in Nashville, Tennessee.
And me, Nicole Nixon, in Sacramento, California.
Thank you for listening. We will not be back next week because it's elections.
There's an election.
I know, but it's going to be such a good episode. So maybe we can do an emergency pod or something.
We may do an emergency weekend pod.
Yeah, let's try to do that for the fans.
For the fans.
Yes.
Okay, here's my Utah speak of the week from Jack Barlow. And it's when Lisa and John are talking to him about whether he's going to go to college. And he says, I'm going to keep pondering this. Such a Utah thing to say. Oh my God.
Is it? Okay,
Oh,
so
yes. Oh,
I was like,
God.
what is this kid kind of spacey?
Okay, I'm going to connect these two things. It's Mormon music and pondering. There's literally a Mormon hymn called Search, Ponder, and Pray.
OMG. You just went deep.
I know that is a deep cut.
That is a deep cut.